Since September last year, I've been promising an RTX 3080 benchmark, and to be honest, I just never got around to it for whatever reason. I just didn't get around to it. But today is the day. I have tested the RTX 3080 at 1440p in 12 different games. And if you want to see a 4K benchmark of this graphics card, because it is more than capable of playing at that resolution, just let me know and I can work on that for you. Getting back to the RTX 3080, and it launched in September of 2020, which I can't believe this thing is 3 years old this year. Time is just moving so incredibly fast. From launch to about halfway through 2022, availability of these things was incredibly bad. They were scalped to high heaven. They were sought after by a lot of miners as well, even the LHR versions. But now in 2023, they can be found on the used market for around £600, give or take, depending on the model. I got this Founders Edition card for $550 back in September of 2022. And I haven't looked back since. The value of this thing is just simply incredible. Getting into the specs of the RTX 3080, and it has 8,704 CUDA cores, 10GB of GDDR6X memory running through a 320-bit bus. And this gives a total memory bandwidth of about 760 GB per second, which is a lot of data throughput. It also has 68 ray tracing cores, which helps with that ray tracing performance, which we haven't used in this benchmark today, but if you want to see some ray tracing benchmarks, let me know and I can work on that too alongside the 4K video. And it also has 272 tensor cores, which helps with that DLSS 2.0 performance, and some AI tasks as well, which I don't really use because I just use this thing for gaming and 3D acceleration. It also comes with a PCIe 4.0 16X interface, which allows the user to fully utilize resizable bar, which is enabled today. Resizable bar is essentially a feature that improves performance slightly in certain games, so I thought I may as well put it on. Like I said previously, the model that I have today is the Founders Edition. I believe it is the LHR model, however, we are not some dirty crypto miner, so this will not affect us at all. And I think this is probably the best engineered graphics card that Nvidia's ever made. The whole thing is heatsink. Like, it's just a big slab of aluminium. It's quite a small card compared to a lot of the 3080s and especially the 40 series as well. But it doesn't get that hot. It does get quite a bit toasty on the stock fan curve. I usually set the fan to around 75% when I'm gaming. However, in testing today, I have left the fan curve to the stock settings. And this card also has that weird 12-pin connector, which I don't think is a problem at all, even though the splitter that comes with it does look a bit ugly. The splitter splits off into two 8-pins, and Nvidia recommend a 750 watt power supply to juice this thing up. But luckily in my rig I have an 850 watt RMX unit from Corsair. It is also the first Nvidia card to have HDMI 2.1 support, which allows for 4K 120Hz with G-Sync as well. So all testing today is done on my main system, which has a Ryzen 9 3950X, 32GB of Corsair Dominator, 3200 MHz Cl16 memory, and a 1TB Samsung 980 Pro. Resizable bar is enabled, which will give better performance in select titles, so this is pretty much the best scenario. All testing is done at 1440p today, as that is the resolution I play at, and most games are pretty much set to the ultra or just the maxed out settings. So yeah, let's get into the benchmarks. Starting off with Unigine superposition, the RTX 3080 10GB got 14,232 on the 4K optimized preset, which is a lot of score. The first game on test today is Forza Horizon 5, and it auto defaulted to the Extreme preset. However, I dropped it down to the Ultra preset, as Extreme does tank the FPS quite substantially over the Ultra for hardly any noticeable visual quality. So Ultra I think is the best bet here. Also, the anti-aliasing method I've used is TAA, as I think this provides the best performance to image quality ratio too. And these settings netted us 129 FPS on average with a 1% low of 102. So performance here really great. I would probably tweak with these settings ever so slightly to get 144 FPS around that threshold. So yeah, either way you're going to be having a great gaming experience on this thing. Next game up is the newest game today, and that is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And on the Ultra preset, in the in-game benchmark, the RTX 3080 got 95 FPS on average with a 1% low of 52. One thing I did observe was when the explosions were happening when he calls in the chopper gunner, the FPS does tank quite substantially, but when I'm usually playing this game, I play at the low settings with high textures and I believe high shaders, so it makes the camos look all good, so yeah. A personal favourite of mine, F122, is always a great optimised game. Any game that's made by Codemasters is always optimised incredibly well, and today is no different. I set it to the ultra high settings with no ray tracing, which is what I usually play at, and this got 148 FPS on average and 102 FPS for the 1% low. This was done on the Wet Australia benchmark, which is the one I always use, and it provides sort of a worst case scenario for the game, so usually I'm getting above 148 FPS as these are the settings that I play at. It's been a while since I've tested Assassin's Creed Valhalla here on the channel, mainly because I've been testing quite a bit of older graphics cards and I just haven't thought about testing it, to be honest. The game defaulted to the ultra high preset, and for good reason, because the RTX 4080 got 102 FPS on average with 68 FPS for the 1% low. This is some incredible performance here, considering that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is more of an AMD Radeon title, so not bad performance here at all. Keeping with the Norse mythology theme, we're moving on to God of War 2018 next. And the game auto defaulted to the Ultra preset as, yeah, as you guessed it, the RTX 3080 is an incredibly powerful GPU, but this netted us 94 FPS on average with 76 FPS for the 1% low. The game looks absolutely incredible, the performance is incredible. This is what I recommend playing at on an RTX 3080 at God of War. Moving into the World War II era here with Battlefield 5, I set the settings to Ultra with no ray tracing on the DirectX 12 API. DirectX 12 does give a bit of stuttering when you're starting out on a map for the first time, but if you stick with it, the stutters will go as it builds up the cache. But this netted us 137 FPS on average with 75 FPS for the 1% low, so there was still a bit of stutter there as I didn't fully load in the map, but that's not that much of a problem. I do recommend setting this down to high power, or maybe keeping ultra textures and texture filtering and setting everything else to high, which is what I'd probably recommend, because you'll be getting a lot more FPS that way, without sacrificing a lot of graphical fidelity either. Another game that launched in 2018 or 2019 on the PC is Red Dead Redemption 2. This is the first time I've managed to max out this game with decent performance, and oh my god, Rockstar, it's a masterpiece. That's all I can say. It looks incredible. So as you guessed, I've maxed out the settings and I've enabled TAA, and this netted me 78 FPS on average with 65 FPS for the 1% low. Performance here, nothing short of incredible. The game was smooth, it looked great, and this is what I recommend playing at 1440p. Another Rockstar title is GTA 5. I always test GTA 5 as I think it's that old game that everyone likes to test, and it's, let's be honest, it's really easy to run. I set it to the very high settings / ultra where applicable, and I enabled 2x MSAA for both the reflections and the regular anti-aliasing. This got me 117 FPS on average with 89 FPS for the 1% low. GPU utilization here wasn't the best, if I'm honest, but getting 117 FPS in GTA 5, especially if you've got a G-Sync display, it's nothing to cry about. It's still great performance, I think, and I'll just leave it like this. Maybe even enable some advanced settings too. Next up is Horizon Zero Dawn, and this is a game I do need to play through because I played through God of War not too long ago, and I want to complete Horizon Zero Dawn too. Sticking to the benchmarking now though, we set it to the ultra quality, and this got 117 FPS on average with 84 FPS for that 1% low, so performance is really good here. This is what I recommend playing the game at. These first party PlayStation studio games, they're incredibly well optimised. You can play these on a wide range of hardware. Speaking of games that can run on a wide range of hardware, next up is Rainbow Six Siege. I set it to the ultra preset here, and I don't think you should. You should be playing on maybe medium if you want a bit more graphical fidelity, because it is a competitive game after all. But even if you wanted to play on ultra, this would get you 292 FPS on average with 204 for the 1% low. I did notice when explosions were happening, so when they were like breaching the walls and stuff like that, the FPS was dropping ever so slightly, but to be honest, I don't think it's that much of a problem. Maybe drop it down to medium or high, and that might get rid of some of these FPS drops while breaching. On an opposite note to Rainbow Six Siege, Cyberpunk is up next, and this is probably either this or Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably the hardest game to run today. But with that being said, I set Cyberpunk to the Ultra preset with no ray tracing, and this got 71 FPS on average with 58 FPS for the 1% low. I'm not going to lie to you, this has made me want to replay Cyberpunk, because the first time I played it, I was playing on my 1080 Ti, and performance wasn't great back then. But now, the game looks absolutely incredible, even without ray tracing, so I might pick it up again soon. Last game up today is Rocket League, and performance here it left a little bit to be desired, if I'm honest. I got 235 FPS on average with a 1% low of 110. There's still very poor FPS while you're boosting in the game for some reason. I literally don't know what causes this. I've tried on different systems, different graphics cards, different graphical settings, and it's still the same, so I don't know what's causing this. And GPU usage hovered around 50% too, so the GPU wasn't being fully utilised here. I didn't realise the 3080 was capable of this amount of performance until I tested it. Every game here today I was very impressed with. Maybe Rocket League was a bit, I don't know what was going on there. The GPU utilisation was like around 50% for whatever reason, so maybe the 3950X might be holding up a bit of a bottleneck there. And speaking of the bottleneck, in a few games the 3950X was holding back my 3080. Considering that I'm getting around 200 to 300 FPS in them games, and I've got a 144Hz monitor, I don't really deem this to be that much of an issue, for me at least. To get around this bottleneck, you could upgrade the CPU to something maybe like a 13900K from Intel, or maybe AMD's upcoming AM5 3D CPUs. Considering that I paid £550 for this graphics card, which is, I think it was only about £90 more than what I paid for my 1080 Ti in 2020. I am very happy with this performance. As I said, I didn't think this thing was capable of this amount of performance. I didn't know how powerful it was until I tested it. Don't get me wrong, there are risks to buying used GPUs. You could either get straight up hosed, but if you buy it off a site like eBay, you will be covered. And there's no guarantee that the card will be working 12 months down the line, as you get no warranty on eBay. But with that being said, I thought the risk was worth it. I took the risk and it seems to have paid off. Touching wood, I hope it doesn't die anytime soon. So overall, do I have any regrets buying my RTX 3080? And the answer to that is no, I don't. This thing has me covered for at least 3 years, I would like to say. I know I did say that with my 1080 Ti, but this time I'm sticking with the 3080 for quite a while. I think when the time comes to upgrade, I might just build a brand new system from scratch, as I think I might move to Intel for my next build. However, that's a discussion for another video. So overall, I'm very happy with my RTX 3080. It has roughly double the rasterization performance of my 1080 Ti, and it also has them sweet RTX features like real-time ray tracing, which to be honest I don't really use. I've used it in Cyberpunk maybe a couple of times. And it also has that DLSS support, which I'm all for because I do use DLSS quite a bit. However, with all that being said, I'm going to leave the video here. So leave a like if you liked it. Leave a comment down below if you want to see them 4K benchmarks, because I can get some work done on that. And I will catch you in the next video.